Namaste, Utsoda. We are live. We are live on HinduLounge number 24. And how are you doing?
I am doing good, and this is our 21 Hindu Lounge
This
21.
is this is episode number 21, Utsoda. And Utsoda, before I go any further, let me introduce you and let me just welcome everyone to Hindu Lounge. So this is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is a broadcast of or a show from Hinduphobic USA. Hinduphobic is the policy research and advocacy initiative of World Hindu Council of America, which is VHPA. And Utsoda is Utsav Chakrabarti. He is the executive director of Hindu Pact, and I am Ajay Shah. I am the Executive Vice President of World Hindu Council of America. Utsava, I want to, as I introduce you, one of the things that I want to mention is people have asked that why do I say Utsav Da? So you are Bengali, and I think you can articulate it better than I can. So why don't you first, say your introductory remark, and then I'll introduce the topic, and then please tell us a little bit about why I'm using this word Da.
Well, Ajay, before I move forward, I just wanted to say the screen on your back is flipped.
Yeah.
So you'll have to.
I will be fixing that.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, diving into the Da business that we have, which is so most people who come from the Indian subcontinent, especially those who speak languages which are native to the subcontinent, the word Da in many parts of Eastern India is a word used to it's a short form of Dada, which means respectfully when you address somebody who is an elder brother. Even though Ajay Bhai is older than me, in our organizations where people from the Hindu American community work together and have worked together for a long time, everybody, irrespective of age, mentions the other person with a small name that shows that we are comrades in arms, if I can use a Western term, and we are friends, brothers, and comrades in arms. So the Da is an endearing term, and I also say Ajay Bhai, which also means brother. So those of us who have diverse backgrounds, come from different parts of the world who speak different languages, but we are working together as members of the Hindu community in America. We have learned over the years to start addressing each other with Dada or Bhai or Ji, and multiple different ways of it's a term of endearment. So if anybody thinks that this is this is not very professional, or we're not following the traditional American way of mentioning people by the first name, I mean, we may do that at some point too, but
Hey, I like all of that. I don't know. I mean, I'll start liking comrade also. Why not?
Comrade, yeah. Let's I can say comrade. I mean,
do I need a card do I need some kind of card to be called comrade, or I can just be comrade without a card?
I always feel that languages are not always to be faulted for how their words and phrases have been used or misused. So the word comrade, I have no problem with comrade, just because in the last 100 years, the word has been used in the context of Marxists or Stalinists or Maoists. The word itself is not to be faulted. It's the people.
No, that's true. But do I need a card, or can I be a comrade without a card?
You can be a comrade without a card, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I am not a card carrying anybody. So.
Okay. All right. So I got a great list of topics for today. So our first topic. I'll just introduce the topic. So we have this time we have a potpourri of Hindu topics or Hindu issues in America. One of the Hindu issues in America, for example, was earlier this week, there was a resolution at the Redmond, Washington City Council, and that particular resolution actually, for the first time that I can think of, named a Hindu organization, or Indian organization, or which is really a organization run by Hindus. It's not even really a Hindu organization run by Hindus. And the organization is called APPWW. It's an organization that purports to speak for persecuted people around the world. And this organization was specifically named and in the resolution and condemned, and mostly because that organization has in past taken some position which was against the law that Indian Parliament passed on the Citizenship Amendment to give the persecuted minorities in Indian subcontinent a expedited citizenship. And so this organization, stood up and said that this is India's internal matter. It is meant to protect the persecuted Hindu minorities. And when this resolution came up in Seattle City Council, they stood up for the Hindu rights, human rights rather, of persecuted Hindus and Christians and Sikhs and Jains from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and other countries. So, as a revenge, the city council member in Redmond brought up a resolution against this particular organization and had named them. Now, we'll give an update as to what happened, but that is the first topic. The second topic we have, Utsada, is Vice President Biden had this special event, which actually was not a Biden campaign event, but the Hindus who were supporting Vice President Biden had an event, and they for Indians, and they talked about protection of mandirs. And it was kind of interesting event, and I'm glad that it took up the issue about Hindu mandirs, but there's a lot to comment about in that, and so we'll get into that a little bit. And the third issue, so that is this week, there was a ruling by the California Supreme Court on the textbook issue. And for those who don't know, this is an issue where the Hindus had sued the state of California for explicit bias in high school textbook when it came to describing Hindu dharma and Hindu people. So we'll talk about that. A ruling came out. So we'll tell you what the ruling is, and then we'll give you our opinion and seek your opinion. But before I go very far, I just want to tell everyone that this is a call-in show, and we are looking for everyone to just dial in and join the conversation. And this time around, we are, I'm posting the chat that is coming through and the calling number on YouTube and Twitter as well. So, so please, if you please do call in, and when you post a chat, we will also read out your comments. So that those are the main topics. I just want to tell you that people have already started joining. And I see that Shalu Lingam has joined, and she has said that a good venture from you guys, VHPA, much needed. But about the last week's episode, Nikki Haley is a very positive Indian American influence, so pro-India. I feel sometimes you guys are not highlighting the strengths of Indo-US relationship pertaining to Republican enough, and lose the positive message in trivial details. We should not commit that mistake. Progressive Dems are waiting to swallow Hinduism, as evidenced by what happened to Tulsi Gabbard, just for being a Hindu. I just wanted to first thank you, Shaluji, for commenting. I just want to tell you that we are, we try to be even-handed. We don't take any political side, and but that is why this is a call-in show, right? So please post your comments. Please call in and express your opinion. So I am going to, let's go to our first topic, and that is the the Redmond City Council resolution, right? So this is an interesting one, and the reason I say this is an interesting one is because, as I said in the background, that this is very unusual for a city council to kind of malign an organization by name, the and express this express a council's opinion on one Hindu organization, which is basically a 4-month-old organization with a handful of people, and to put the weight of the council and bring in a list of 140 organizations. And I don't know, really, maybe there are only 50 people in 140 organizations. Who knows? I mean, I haven't even looked at the list carefully enough to scrutinize it. But to bring a resolution, to drum up the support of local organizations, national organizations, faculty members, and just have a full frontal attack on this one organization. The good news there is that the variation of the resolution that passed did not mention the APPWW organization by name. It still condemned Islamophobia. I wish it had condemned all phobias, including Hinduphobia, and and phobias against all the faiths, and phobias against all the gender inequalities and racial inequalities that exist, and all of that, rather than just single out Islamophobia. So that even the good news there is really, so they're not that much of a good news, because Hindus were still, Hinduphobia did not get mentioned by name. So what do you think, Utsara?
Okay, so there are a couple of points I want to mention here about this particular resolution. Number one, that this city council resolution was actually intended to be far more harsh, and organizations as powerful as Council for American Islamic Relations were lobbying to get this resolution passed. So you can see that an organization that is primarily designed, like APPW, which was primarily working towards bringing up the issues of religious minorities, persecuted religious minorities from all communities. They had events from the Baloch Muslim community, from the Sindhi community, from the Yazidi Proto-Vedic community in the Middle East, who were victims of ISIS persecution. So all these communities interacted with APPW, were being given a platform by APPW to express their tragedies and victimhoods. And organizations like CARE, massive organization with millions of dollars in their kitties, felt threatened by it, and they used the Richmond, the Redmond City Council to target APPW. And that shows that what has become of these city councils, where let alone their own city issues and their own concerns of the local communities, their welfare, that they are paying taxes for, should be addressed. These places have become tools for larger geopolitical machinations. And imagine, like, APPW stood for Muslims more. If you look at their events in the past 4 months, they were actually highlighting the cause of the Muslim communities that are being persecuted by other Muslim communities, and they are being targeted for being Islamophobic. So that shows the level of propaganda involved in this effort. And those 150 organizations, that once CARE is involved, you will find 150 organizations with 41 members in total easily. And that is what we wanted to highlight. And luckily, the city council didn't name individuals, they didn't name any organization. They just passed a generic resolution criticizing Islamophobia. I wish they had passed a resolution that resolution also included religions and belief systems that call for conversion and or extermination of other belief systems. That would have been very good if it was included in the language of this resolution. But again, me just saying that probably will qualify me for Islamophobia. So this is we need to highlight this particular event to show the level of aggressiveness against the Hindu community in America, the level of aggressiveness even against Muslim who stand up to other Muslims bullying them in America. And And that, I think, I mean, in previous shows, I have highlighted how Muslim Brotherhood Links organization and other pan-Islamist organizations have kind of hijacked the narrative of what is Islam in America through their Islamism. And I think all people, irrespective of their religion, should come together and
So,
stand.
so let me just ask you this. So I think that APPWW was not criticized as much for taking up the Hindu cause or CAA cause, NRC cause, India cause. Okay, a lot of Hindu organizations have taken this cause up. They've not been named in any city council resolution, but but APPWW was singled out. Is it because that they started talking about the persecuted Muslims in various countries? So, for example, they took up the issue of Yazdis who are who were persecuted in Syria. They took up the cause of Baloch who are being persecuted in Pakistan. They took up the issue of Ahmadiyya Muslims who are not even considered Muslims in Pakistan. And so I think when they started taking up the cause and publicizing the persecution of, say, for example, Shias or Ahmadiyyas in Pakistan, or they started talking about Yazdis and all of that, I think all of a sudden this was deemed as a threat to the mainstream Islamic thought in America and or in some parts of the world. And again, I don't want to make this Hindu Muslim or I don't want to criticize the Islam or any of that here today. What I'm talking about is that specifically in context of APPWW, I think that the reason they were in the crosshairs is because they started highlighting the plight of Muslim minorities in a country like Pakistan, in a country like Afghanistan, in a country like Syria and other countries. What do you think?
You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right in this analysis. I think before I go any further, Yazidis are not Muslims. I just wanted to clarify that in case
Yes.
somebody thought from your statement that somehow they are Muslims. They are not. Yazidis are the only surviving proto-Vedic community in the Middle East. The Parsis are extinct. They have mostly moved to other parts of the world, including India. So Yazidis are the only surviving proto-Vedic community. They have survived 7,000 years, and they share a common heritage with Hindus of the world in terms of their theology and their astronomy and their socio-political mindset going back 7,000 years. Now their culture has been Arabized and Islamized and Turkified a lot in the last 1,000 years, and that even our culture has been Arabized and Urduized in the last 500 years. But so I just want to make sure Yazidis are not Muslims. But
yes,
it's not that it's the Muslim minorities like Ahmadiyyas and the Muslim community in Balochistan. When APPW started talking about them, that's when they were targeted. So you can see that these guys have the Council for American Islamic Relationship, the Muslim Brotherhood Links organization. They have very thin skin, and they will target a 4-person organization with a 150 organization list just for calling out the discrimination and the killing that happens within their own community. So APPW could have done more of their support for India and the Indian government's positions in helping minorities in South Asia and in the Indian subcontinent. They may have gotten away with it, but not when they actually stand for other Muslims who are persecuted. So that's a very good observation, Ajay bhai.
So and really in a country where we cherish freedom of speech, to shut down on any pretext, to shut down speech is absolutely can have chilling effect, because people can can think of today's cancel culture, and people say now let's find the first step is let's shut down the organization by condemning it so that their funding sources and other things get killed. then you go after individuals and their livelihood, and you shut them down. So basically, the overall effect of this kind of resolution is to shut down any voice that is opposing. In fact, the website that was put out to make the case for this particular Redmond, Washington City Council resolution articulated several so-called Islamophobic positions taken by members of this organization, and one of the points that was highlighted was that a member or a board member, I don't remember which one, of this particular organization had written something in favor of opponent of, now follow this trail, okay? Opponent of Ilhan Omar when in the Democratic primary for Congress. Okay, so a person who's I don't remember, a member or a board member or whatever of APPWW is Islamophobic because he or she wrote in favor of a political opponent of Ilhan Omar. So does this mean that now if anyone comes up and says that they are against a candidate who happens to be Muslim and you oppose them politically, you're automatically labeled as Islamophobic?
That's correct. And this is an instrument of submission for the rest of the community that is non-Islamic. You basically will be accused you say anything against anything that has to do with somebody who is remotely connected to Islam, and you will be branded Islamophobic, and they will come for your head. To be honest, in some cases, literally. So, so that's the situation that we are heading up to right now.
Yeah, and that's I think these are not the principles on which America was founded, right? America was founded on Bill of Rights, and Bill of Rights, I mean, cherish the freedom of speech, cherish the freedom to practice your own religion without the fear of persecution and all of that. And I think we are going to a place where we are going away from those foundational values. And freedom of speech is supposed to be absolute.
That's
and in fact, the speech that needs protection is not the speech that is conformist. The protection is needed when you are speaking about things that are contrary to the popular political opinion of the day or popular any other thing of the day. That is the one that needs protection.
Well, and to add to that, we need to understand that it is not just that people who are Hindus or people who are from the Jewish community or the mainstream American community who are non-Muslims that are being targeted here. Even Muslims who don't conform to these thoughts and to these diktats are targeted. So you can see that it is not about just, Islamists versus non-Muslims that they are trying to push the narrative for. Even Muslims who stand for free speech, even Muslims who are opposing persecution by fellow Muslims in many parts of the world, they will be targeted as well. And I think that is where we need to come together, and our communities need to come together. And that's where, the larger community, whichever community is listening to the show, listening to us, needs to understand what we are up against. This is not about, Hindus versus Islamists or Hindus or Jews and Hindus together versus Islamists. It's about Islamists versus anybody who disagreed with them.
Yeah, and so then let's pivot to the next topic, and very consistent with the the general trend of Hindu hate or anti-Hindu bias that is emerging from all directions. So that you may remember this, that in 2017 and 2018 there was a major issue in California So California, for people who are not very familiar, California textbooks are revised periodically, and high school textbooks, and the state of California adopts these textbooks. And because California is a big state, if California adopts a particular textbook, the publishers generally, get. So this was in the draft. When California adopts the textbooks, generally other states, assume that the due diligence has been done, and most of the states just accept what California has approved. Okay, so in 2016, the state of California issued, I think the revision happens about every 10 years or so. So in 2016, in July, California issued the guidelines for revision of textbooks. And these textbooks were blatantly, so that I cannot emphasize how blatant anti-Hindu bias was there in these textbooks. And I don't have time to go over all the anti-Hindu biases, but suffice to say that they would, all kinds of, derogatory statements were made about Hindu Dharma in the textbooks. And so various Hindu organizations protested it. Some of the organizations, especially the organization called CAPEEM, CAPEEM, which is, and Arvind Kumarji is one of the founder members of this. They took the state of California to court, and they made a case that, the US Constitution says that you cannot have the state and state propagate in one way or the other a religion and equality clause in the Constitution. And now the state of California is going against that, and it is specifically introducing the anti-Hindu bias. This week, the Ninth Circuit Court actually, so it's a U.S. court, so Ninth Circuit Court. So it had gone through all the various lower courts, state courts, and all of them with some mixed rulings, and then it made its way to the Ninth Circuit Court because it's a constitutional issue, and Ninth Circuit Court, a bench of 3 judges, unanimously concluded that the California Board of Education was not discriminating against Hindus, and they voted against CAPEEM. Utsudha, I'll go into more details, but I want you to comment on this lawsuit a little bit before I go into some more details.
Well, Ajay bhai,
and of course, before you do that, if we have viewers from California who want to chime in on this issue, I welcome all of them to please call in and express your opinion. Go ahead, Utsudha.
Well, the first thing I would say is that, as much as we think and believe there is going to be a genuine and honest understanding and redressal of issues concerning Hindu issues and dharmic issues in America, in any forum, I think at the end of the day, there is always going to be an inherent bias at a very core level, because we do not come from the Abrahamic system of faiths and their worldview. So that, I think, is at the very basic level, at the very fundamental level, a weakness and a position that we have to always stand up to and deal with. And I think in this particular case, there is more and more, my personal belief is that there's more and more evidence that fundamental reason that, Hindus are non-Abrahamic in nature, their worldview and their paradigm is different from that of the Abrahamic systems and their worldview at a very fundamental level. And we'll always be disadvantaged because of that. In fact, 30, 40 years ago, most people won't even accept Hindus as a legitimate religion and dharma. I use both of the words together because it's the biblical worldview, it's the Quranic worldview. So why would they break away from that? So we have come a long way, but as we can see with the California ruling, there is an inherent bias. And this will be reflected in the textbooks we read in America. This will be reflected in the way politicians deal with us in America and other parts of the world, which are non-dharmic origin places. We have to work very hard, harder than ever before, to counter this, educate people. The better we try, the more we work hard on this aspect, the more the world will come around to it, as much as California as any other place in the world.
So that let me first correct myself. So when I mentioned the law, I did misspeak, and then I was going to correct it. I wanted you to finish what you were saying. So the law that the constitutional constitutional argument that Kapim had made was based on the establishment clause. So it's a First Amendment establishment clause claim to it, that they had made. So they had said that this was against the establishment clause as part of the First Amendment. And U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer dismissed the action, in 2017, finding the framework and process leading up to the curricular adoption not discriminatory or hostile to Hinduism, while he allowed a First Amendment establishment clause claim to advance. And so that is the one that had advanced to the Ninth Circuit. So that I am going to, I want to show you a few things, and that way, to our viewers, and that way people would get the, can understand the magnitude of what has happened here. So let me share the screen, and let me show you a few things that and to our viewers, and see what everyone thinks. So this is from the website called Hindupedia, and Hindupedia and Kundan Singh ji there, who's a professor at Hindu University, have done quite a bit of work on that. And you can see here some of the biases that are exhibited. So they propagate the Aryan invasion theory, which has been absolutely proven wrong. There was no invasion. They propagate the caste and caste system, which is not inherent. As we have done a whole show and explained the difference between Varna and Jati and caste, and how the Portuguese came up with the word castos, and Riley, who was a census taker for British, institutionalized this whole caste narrative. That is not to say that any system in India or anywhere else in the world was perfect and there was no discrimination, but the word caste is not inherent to Hindus, but they have, not only was that propagated, but they also went on and said that devout Hindu believed that the people in a higher jati were superior and deserved their status. And then they would ask students a question: how might a belief in karma and jati influence the way Hindu lives his or her own life? Or they would say that caste system and such people remain in the same social group for life, which actually, when we did our show, we proved, and we talked about that. We have several examples of people moving, entire communities moving from one varna to another based on the profession that changed over a period of time. Again, not to say that the society, any society, whether it's a Western society, Indian society, is perfect, not perfect, or there's discrimination, not discrimination, but to pin it on and say that this is because of the Hindu belief is where we have a problem. There are systems where there are inherent, a lot of places are inherent discrimination. Everywhere in the world there is, and we should all stand up and fight against it. But here is what is more important. Let me show you this. Okay. So this is the more important part. So there's a professor, Kamla Vishweswaran, who is a professor at UCSD, and she colluded with a employee of the state of California Education Department to build the anti-Hindu narrative that we talked about in a couple of minutes ago, to show that what kind of anti-Hindu bias they wanted to introduce. And so that I'm dumbfounded as to why the court didn't see it, because as part of the lawsuit, discovery in the lawsuit, all of these internal emails between academics and the government officials actually came out. And I'm just going to highlight a few things. And this will clearly show that these anti-Hindu biases were not introduced as as a random coincidence or vengeance of one person or the other, but it's a well-orchestrated anti-Hindu effort that went into building this particular narrative. So look and see this email from 2015 by Kamala Visweswaran, a professor at UCSD, to a whole bunch of supposed academics. And here I'll highlight a few things. She said that list is small enough so we can email each other directly. So major concern arise. So basically, she is building this, cohort of small people, a cabal, if you will, of small academicians and government officials, where they can frame an argument to malign Hindus systematically. And she says that the state official Lawrence, another professor, Lawrence and I spoke with Tom Adams, who is a state official. We are asked to submit a short, concise report by November 6th for the November 19th meeting. We may also be asked to weigh in after the 60-day period of comment on curriculum framework. Unlike 2006, where we entered later in the process and were asked to comment directly on the edits, Adam wants us to review the curriculum framework, which has been uploaded in a folder with his name to Google Drive. Okay, so this is a state official colluding with his favorite academician, including Kamala Visweswaran. And then here are the emails that actually came out. And I'm going to highlight a few things that were part of the email. So one, we recommend the term patriarchy not to be used unexplained or without qualification. Something like this would be better. Although societies of ancient South Asia generally privilege male over female. Now, we all know that unlike other tradition, in Hindu tradition, actually we have female representation represented in deities. And we have societies like Kerala, which are matriarchal. But this is a narrative that they want to build in order to make up an argument. And then they said, readers of our report can imagine that this is meant to undermine the legitimacy of Hinduism as a religion, and Hinduism uniquely among the religions at that. I worry that we are not thinking enough about writing to our readership and persuading them with arguments that will be seen to be reasonable. We need to persuade, not just inform readers of the present state of scholarly thinking that is our own. They want to consider their opinion as contemporary scholarly thinking, and they want to say that, oh, we are worried that people are not being, we are not persuading, we are just presenting. So they don't want to present fact. They want people to buy into their ideology. And then, Utsoda, this is what takes the cake. And she says, a very significant evidence of this is that the texts, Upanishad, and even the Bhagavad Gita, which are considered the core text of Hinduism, never even once mention the word Hindu, forget Hinduism. Hindus and Hinduism have appropriated the Vedas, Upanishads, Gita as foundation of their Hindu religion. So what they're saying, Utsoda, here is that these are the scriptures that existed, and they were always there, and they were appropriated by Hindus who are invaders and therefore have no claim to it. And therefore, the word Hindu and Hinduism are new. And in fact, they go on further and say that the Hindu is like we should position it as if it's here it is. So I wonder if it can be suggested that a period of 300 to 1200 in South Asia can be framed as that of religious evolution and mixture of all around, in which Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam play significant parts at various points in the time based on geographic region and political situation within India. That would dissociate Islam from being political regime first and religion later, and inversely highlight the historicity and political context of Hindu-Buddhism development as well. We are not clear whether this can or cannot be accomplished in the context of existing narrative. So they want to rebuild the narrative. The narrative says that there was these are scriptures that existed. Hindus came as invaders, appropriated that, and really Hindu is only maybe about 500, 600, 800-year-old religion, and it evolved at the same time that Islam came. And so really, Islam never destroyed anything of, any Hindu thing. It basically some invaders that, maybe destroyed a few structures they didn't like or whatever. And this whole narrative that Hindus have suffered and persecuted for 1,000 years of invasion and all that gets nullified. This entire body of scholarly work that Hindus did is negated, and thereby we are now free to erase the Hindu identity, and that is the narrative that they want to build. So that before I get your opinion, we do have a caller, uh, and Bandeji, Banjade ji, and I'm going to welcome him to express his opinion, and so that then I will leave it to you to make a comment on this. So let me welcome Banjade ji to the call. Namaste, Bandaji. You're on HinduLounge and you're live. Please go ahead, introduce yourself. Hello, Namaskar. You're on HinduLounge. Please go ahead. Banjade ji, can you hear us? You're live on HinduLounge. Utsada, why don't I put him on? I think he's joined without audio. So you may want to please. We'll come back to you in a minute. Let me ask Utsada for his comment on what I was asking on the textbook issue. I guess he's calling again. Just 1 second. Namaste, Banjade ji. You're back on live. Can you hear us? You're on HinduLounge. Let me put him in the waiting area while we sort out the issues. Utsada, go ahead.
So I would make 3 points in this whole issue here, and the 3 points. First one, Kamala Visweswaran and all these quote unquote scholars who were targeting, figuring out ways to erase Hindu Dharma and thus the Hindu identity amongst the future generation of Americans and Indians by extension. Their the first problem I have is that they mention, oh, the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita does not mention the word Hinduism. Therefore, it means that Hindus appropriated those texts from somebody else. Oh, well, the word Christianity does not exist in the Bible either. So I guess that leaves the Christians without a holy book, and by extension, without a religion. So if I extend the logic that these guys have used to other world religions, then I think Hindu Dharma is the only religion that will survive because there are texts that also mention the word Hindu. So other world religions will just fall apart because they don't mention the word Christianity doesn't exist in the Bible either. So I think they need to revisit. They need to go back to their sponsors who give them these kinds of ideas to propagate through academia, and they need to sit with them and say, hey, you need to give us better anti-Hindu narratives to build on. That's number one. Point number two, if these guys believe that they can just go and minimize the Hindu and Buddhist history of the Indian subcontinent and Central Asia and East Asia by just putting in a trope which says, oh, they grew simultaneously in conjunction with Islam in between the 6th and the 12th century, the 7th and the 13th century. And therefore, that way we will be able to protect Islam from being treated as a political invader, and would try to make them look like a native religion that came up from the subcontinent. Then they are living in a dream world, because as much as they want this kind of narrative to come up so that they can, again, their goal again has the same thing, erase Hindu and by extension other dharmic ideologies, including Buddhism. They need to understand that the Muslims themselves wrote about how they were invading the Central Asia and the Indian subcontinent. Almost every Muslim ruler between the 7th and the 13th or the 17th century, before the Britishers came, who came to the Indian subcontinent. He wrote tons of stuff about how he was actually an invader and how he was invading these lands to convert the local population to Islam and to destroy the native religions, which were Buddhism and Hinduism. So Kamala Vishweshwaran and all these people need to go back, sit with their masters or sponsors, however you want to call them, and discuss how to deal with this. More, we have to worry. My point, third point, we have to worry about the courts and the American systems that are giving these people credence. And we have to work harder. When I say we, I mean it's just not you and me or anybody who is listening to us. As a community, we have to sit together and understand the gravity of these rulings and the seriousness of the anti-Hindu narrative builders. They are not playing with us. This is not about India or Modi or Hindutva or some organization here and there that they are trying to fight. They have a mandate and the resources to erase Hindus as a community in America and in other parts of the world, first by intellectual efforts, and then if that is not possible, through physical efforts that is visible in parts of the world where Hindus are in minority. So I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is actually designed for our erasure intellectually, ideologically, and physically, because everywhere where Hindus are in minority in this world, they're actually facing extinction through physical violence as well. So if people here think that this is just going to be an intellectual fight and this is just, no, you will actually face physical extermination as well, as you can see through your own.
So let me move on. First, let me welcome CL Banjareji. He called before earlier also a few weeks ago, and he's calling back. So let me welcome him. And CLG, you are back online.
Yeah. Good morning. Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, it's me CL Banjare from Texas, Dallas, Texas.
Yes, we remember you.
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure to join you again. I was very excited every time when I get the time to join this cafe, Hindu cafe. Lots of information I can get from here. That's why. Thank you. Thank you for this organization, this program.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I'm very grateful for this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay. Well, so that I want to, we are, as always, we have a lot more topics than we have time, but I cannot let this week pass without talking about the presidential elections. And this is a special week because Vice President Biden had, I don't think this is an official, let me share this screen again, and this will, and get your thoughts on this. First thing to note is that there was an event that people who are supporting Vice President Biden did called American Hindus for Biden, not the Biden campaign. Please note, Biden campaign did a campaign for Muslim Americans, but here it was Hindu Americans for Biden doing the event. So it is not an official event as far as I can tell. And it was for preventing hate crimes and protecting mandirs, which was one of the items that we had in our letter to the presidential candidates. I noticed that neither Vice President nor Biden nor the nominee, Democratic nominee for Vice President Kamala Harris were part of the event, nor were any of the other Congress legislators, congressmen, women from Democratic Party were not part of it. Nonetheless, there was an event, and it was about preventing hate crimes and protecting mandirs. And Raja Krishnamurthy, Illinois representative in the U.S. House of Representatives, was there. And Utsoda, I want to also mention a couple of things that Vice President Biden also sent out wishes to Jains for the Samvatsari event, and also he's doing a special event for Gujaratis. So now, not just he is targeting through his people, he is targeting the Hindus, he is targeting Jains, he is salami slicing and targeting Gujaratis, and All good, right?
It's all good. That's exactly what the British did 200 years ago. So, the thing is, I mean, just speaking about the event about that the Biden Hindus, Americans for Biden, which is not part of the Biden campaign, but supporters of Biden that did the event for. First of all, we should be fair to them, and we would like to thank them for actually picking up one of the primary points. That was our first point actually in the list of demands we had sent out to the campaigns. So thank you for hosting this event, even though it was not an official event. Having said that, we are concerned as American Hindus that the event, we only saw one congressman, Raja Krishnamurthy, deem it fit to attend the event. So 4 million American Hindus, and Kamala Harris doesn't show up, because obviously she's not a Hindu. Pramila Jayapal and Ro Khanna don't show up. Maybe they are not Hindus. At least Ro Khanna says he's Hindus, but maybe he's afraid of loss of money from his Pakistani sponsors. Whatever be the reason. But guys, you need to do better than this. And then we have, I think, Ro Khanna, Raja Krishnamurthy, mentioning that Kamala Harris's mother is Indian. And thank God for that. Because that was like the high point of the entire event. Just mentioning. So I really think that the American Hindus who are supporting the Biden campaign and who have a lot of influence, it seems, in the Biden campaign, because they can hold events for Gujarati specifically as well. Please do better than this. We hope you can do better than this. We will support you if you can do better than this. And let's move beyond platitudes and get some real policy positions from the campaign. And that's what the Hindu community, I think, is looking for, given the track record of Biden's campaigns in the last 2 months and the very, very Hinduphobic statements and positions that came out of the campaign in the last 2 months. So
Yeah.
please
So
work harder
ideally,
than just platitudes and the occasional tweets that are written by people who are not even part of the campaign. And please help us help American Hindus look at you in a slightly more positive way.
And look, I mean, at the end of the day, Hindus are not going to vote because they put out a campaign ad in Gujarati. They're going to vote on what is a Biden campaign going to do about Hindus who are, about Hindus who are refugees from Kashmir. They're going to vote on, issues that are substantial issues such as that affect the Hindus in America, substantial issues that affect Hindus around the world, and not just. Although I would say, Soda, that if the Gujarati ad was accompanied by maybe a acknowledgement that Biden also likes Rotla and Hindu, then it might sway a few voters. But I think they have to go do a little better than just put out a campaign ad in Gujarati and do an event in Gujarati. I think Srikhand would help. So I have a list of things that would actually help to go with the masala dosa and samosas. But what I'm really looking for, Utsoda, is in short of that food offering, if they were to just agree with and say that, look, I mean, we are going to help, we are going to agree with the substantial Hindu issues, I think that may be other way of getting Hindus to vote for them.
So we should come up with a phrase saying the way to get a Hindu vote is through his stomach.
No, of course.
So
if I ever run for a political office, I'm sending you a box of rasgulla and I'm getting your vote. I think I can easily buy your vote with a with a dabba of rasgulla. So and I don't know why it would not work. It absolutely will work.
Yeah, I'm sure it will work with many of my compatriots within the community. I think it will be harder to work on me, but
I think when the dabba lands, with you at your doorsteps, you'll forget all the other things and you'll say, okay, this is the person who is directly concerned about my issues. And so, but I do think that Biden campaign and Kamala Harris have to work harder to get the Hindu votes. And just this salami slicing of Hindu population is not going to help them. Okay, moving on. So there are two last segments before we conclude today's program, and one of them is uh, one of the issues. So the first one is Hindu Seva Act of the week, and so that I'm going to again share my screen, and this one really deserves a mention because this is somewhat unique, right? And I think we need to acknowledge that. So the Seva Bharati, an organization which is a Seva organization based in India, they made eco-friendly cow dung Ganeshji idol. And this is in so many ways, this is laudable because this is eco-friendly. It's made out of cow dung. There's a deeper philosophical meaning that you can actually, just like a lotus that comes out of, mud, you can actually make Ganeshji Murti. Only thing I don't agree with is word idol. It's not idol, it's Murti. But you can make it out of dirt and you can still see divinity in that. It's how you worship and what you see in that. And then you're helping the laborers who have lost their jobs because of COVID-19 and is eco-friendly. So Utsava, I really want to commend Seva Bharati Delhi for this initiative in so many ways. This is an ideal Seva act, and I think it's something that we can all learn from. And with that, Utsava, I turn it over to you for the Hinduphobe of the week.
Yes, and the Hinduphobe of the week is a movie, and the creator of that movie called APPWW. So this movie, it's a recently done movie, and it is modeled after the Vinci Code, and we are no strangers to movies that copy Hollywood movies. Has been a trend in many Bollywood movies, but this movie is made in America by somebody in San Francisco. And the reason we call him out for the Hinduphobe of the week is because this movie is modeled after the Vinci Code. It's called Padmavyuha, as in the military, defensive military formation that is mentioned in Mahabharata. It models the RSS as being equivalent to the Opus Dei, which is a Catholic organization, very close to the Vatican. It perpetuates and propagates Hindus as terrorists, obviously. They had to go there. Instead of naming RSS as an organization, they name it SSR. So they just flip the name. And see, the reason I call them Hinduphobe of the week is because this is very typical of Hindus who hate Hindutva and other Hindus and who have very little understanding of their own history and their own the 1,000 years of victimhood that they have faced. And they're very quick to try to equate everything that Hindus do as an assertive community to the worst of what has happened in the West, because that's all they know. Their worldview is based on the Western worldview. They're often extremely leftist in nature, and they're just looking for ways to target Hindus as a parallel of a Western colonizer model. So this movie is an example of that. Thankfully, YouTube removed the trailer of the movie because it was so offensive. But internet is internet, so it's available still some places on the internet. I'm also happy this movie didn't make it to anywhere too far, wasn't popular. But it is a trend, and it is a trend that keeps coming up again and again. And it is a trend to, it is the internalization of the Hindus, especially the leftist Hindus, as seeing themselves as colonizers, even though the reality over the past 1,000 years is exactly the opposite of that. And it is also a tool to the erasure of the Hindu community, because how do you erase somebody? By blaming them of something and then hanging them for it.
So Utsudha, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think somebody has objected to what you have picked as Hinduphobe of the week. And I think this is the first objection that you have had outside of what I object to sometimes. So Ashok Adhikari ji has said that Varisha Khan, he's saying that was hoping that Varisha Khan be named also. Varisha Khan, IMHO, is number one Hinduphobe and her abuse of for her abuse of office. Now, for those who don't know, Varisha Khan is the councilwoman in Redmond, Washington City Council, and she's the one who brought out the bill against a resolution against the APPWW. Ashokji, this is all I can say. We have so many contenders every week, and I tell Utsada every week that this is like going to a buffet in an Indian restaurant, and there's so much to eat, and you can only eat so much in a given day. So I don't disagree with you. It was a really close call. Varisha Khan was certainly on the top contender, just because of the global impact of this particular movie. I want to just add to what Sodar said. Basically, this movie is not done with. The movie was just participated in one event as a film festival event, and it's going to be broadly distributed in coming months. So Ashokji, I don't disagree with you again. I just think that these are really close calls, and one of these days, Utsav, what we should do is the entire show should be just Hinduphobes of the week, and then we can highlight all 8 or 10 people that we've identified for that week and give them all an award. Because
exactly. I mean, the next
it is really hard to pick one.
Yeah, we can pretty much fill an entire hour. That's how much hatred we face throughout the world and also in America. I mean, just look at the news item that I have, which is, China putting up surface-to-air missiles on Mount Kailash, one of the holiest signs, places of pilgrimage for the Hindus and the Buddhists. So, that's an example of Hinduphobia. But we can go on and on. Every week, we can literally fill the entire show. And it is so institutionalized. That's the issue. That some of this is so institutionalized that many Hindus don't even bat an eyelid over it. They just think, oh, it's okay, we have to deal with it. We will be discriminated against. Let's just live on with our lives and, do our jobs and buy our houses and buy our cars and give our children a better life. So that's the reality we have to deal with. But our effort is to reach out and share these issues because it affects the future of the world and the future of our community.
And our real goal is that someday we come here and say, you know what, this week we have no Hinduphobe of the week. That would be utopia, and we are not. I don't think that we're going to reach that utopian state anytime soon. But that's where we are, right?
Yes, correct.
So with that, Utsada, I wish you a very happy Labor Day weekend. Once again, great conversation. Thank you very much. Once again, I want to emphasize for those who joined late, we did explain the word Da. Da means brother. It's a very respectful way of addressing Utsavji. I am not in any way, it is not meant to trivialize that. And I just want, for people who are not from Bengal but who are from India, let this be a little educational thing that Da is actually a respectful word. Okay, with that, this is Ajay Shah and Utsav Chakravarti in Hindu Pact on behalf of World Hindu Council of America. We wish you all happy Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you again next week at 11 o'clock Eastern for the episode number 22 of HinduLounge. With that, namaste and see you next week.
Namaste, everybody.